No, no, I'm new to the family.
He's my father's Stephen. He just
So
got.
you're Lent?
Yeah.
We're Lent. We just got married.
How are you related to Shalom?
So my dad's mom and both sisters, they're siblings, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. But now I think,
His second cousin.
yeah, he lives in,
You moved.
he moved to Miami.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Thank you for having some special things. Everyone's like, this is like an impromptu type of funeral, really. Like I'm like running around trying to get things organized.
Yeah, I called you by accident.
It's okay. It's all good. It's all good. It's all good. Do you want me to do it for you?
I'm doing it.
Okay, good. I know. You can start crying if you want.
I don't want people here. I want people empty.
Well, I have to go to the bathroom because I've been gone for 2 hours.
It's right there. It's right there. Yeah. I'm sorry. When did you get married?
What?
When did you get
I'm
married?
married again. Yeah.
Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us here as we begin our service at this time, especially on such short notice. Today's service is officiated by Rabbi Jonathan Rosenberg, Senior Rabbi at Short Tzedek Congregation. I remind you to please silence your cell phones at this time. Please turn your attention to the podium. Thank you.
Going to ask everybody to kindly rise. We're going to begin with Psalm 121. Shir Lamalo Sasai Nael HaHarim Me'ayin Yavo Ezri. Ezri Me'ima Adonai Yosei Shamayim Va'aretz Ayitein Lamod Raglach Al Yonum Shomracha Hinei Lo Yonum V'lo Yishan Shomer Yisrael Adonai Shomracha Adonai Tzilcha Al Yad Yeminecha Yomam Hashemesh Lo Yakeka V'yareach Ba'layla Adonai Yishmarcha Mikol Ra Yishmaras Nafshecha Adonai Yishmar Tzeisko V'Echa Me'atah V'Ad Olam. Please remain standing. I'd like to call upon Rabbi Aaron Abend of Chabad of North Hollywood, and he will recite Kapitel Tezain, Psalm 16.
Michtam David Shomreni El Ki Chasisi Bach Amart Adonai Oto Toibasi Balalacha. L'gdoishim asher ba'aretz heima v'adidei kol chebtzi bom yirbu atzmoisom achim mahadu al osich nis'ehem midon u'bal es ashmoisom asfosoi Adonai menas chelki v'choitzi ato toimich geroloi chavolim noch liban imim af nachla shofra oloi havorech es Adonai asher yotzoni af leilos yisunik el yosai shvisi Adonai l'negdi somid kimini balat not L'chein samach libi v'yogel kavodi af b'sar yishkan levetach ki lo sazov nafsh lishol lo titen chas l'chalidei shochas to the eini chayim soiva samachos es panacha ne'imois b'mincha netzach.
Please be seated. We find ourselves in the Arba Yomim. We have 4 days from the end of Yom Kippur until the holiday of Sukkot, Zman Simchasenu, the season of our happiness. And as a result, we have certain halachos, laws that prescribe us from engaging in things that would make us sad. And among them is a hesped, a eulogy, a formal eulogy. So we're supposed to be concise, but obviously we do want to speak words of inspiration about the Nifteris, about Miriam Bas Yosef, Marilyn Silver. Allah HaShalom. In that vein, going back to the season, I think it's a well-known Gemara. People have heard this before. Rabbi Shimon ben Gamliel, one of the great sages, said, "Lohoyu yomim tovim liYisrael," from the greatest holidays that the Jewish people have enjoyed. Kechamisha Sarba Av, the 15th of Av, which is somewhat obscure, and most people don't have it marked on their calendar, but the next one everyone knows. Yom HaKippurim. Yom Kippur is considered to be a very happy day, a strenuous day, a challenging day, but nonetheless a happy day because, as the Gemara explains intuitively, that we have a day of forgiveness. So when we leave shul, there's a certain euphoria, a spiritual euphoria. We come home, there's a medrash. Our sages also teach us that Baskol Yotza b'Motzei Yom Kippurim, that a voice emanates from heaven after the fast and says, "Go home, Leich Echol b'Simcha." Enjoy your meal, your breakfast. Prepare for the Yontif of Sukkot. Zman Simchaseinu. However, at times, it doesn't always follow. It started out that way, but when I went upstairs to get my phone after I ate something and I saw Rachel's text, I was shocked. I couldn't believe what I was reading. The tragic news. It seemed to be so routine. Marilyn, right after Rachel got married, it was the Shabbos, Friday night, the Sheva Brachos, and an accident. She broke her hip. So it happens, and it can be repaired. The surgery didn't go well. Recovery was slow. Another surgery. It was too much. And going into Yom Kippur, Friday night, she returned her sweet, precious neshama to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to Hashem. She was so gentle and so loving and so sweet. I used to communicate with her. She preferred texts. So I was looking at the text from the past few years. Went back a ways. During the days of COVID, when we would communicate with videos, and she would always write something thoughtful. She said in the text that she thanked me for the video to learn something, how much she loved to learn. When my son got married a couple of summers ago, she wanted to make sure that the gift arrived at his new apartment in Muncie, New York, and she was very concerned that he received it. It was important to her. If there was a family simcha, she would always text good wishes. When the war broke out a year ago, she wanted to do her part. So she texted me which Tehillim, which chapters of Psalms should she recite. Does she have to say them standing up? It's hard for her to remain standing. This is before she broke her hip. And does she have to face east? She was very meticulous. She asked very genuine questions because she was so sincere. I always felt that it was coming from a place of purity, innocence, almost like a child, childlike innocence, to do it right. She would ask questions. She would light candles for all of the children and grandchildren. She wanted to make sure she had a candle for Ellie. She doesn't want to take away any candles. Included Aaron. Everybody had to be included. When it came to Yom Kippur, and it was difficult for her to fast, so there's a halachic protocol, intervals. She wanted to know exactly how to do it so that she would be able to preserve the fast and at the same time take care of her health. And she would always send her best to my wife Aviva and to the family. Gentle, sweet, respectful in tone. Every text. But around January of 2022, there was a shift in the tone of the text. And again, because it's the 4 days, I'd like to focus on something that may give us insight. It's more Torah-oriented. The Gemara tells us that Shimon HaTzadik, who was the Kohen Gadol, the high priest, and he served a long tenure, 40 years. And the last year of his life, it said in the Gemara, it tells us that he told his students, those around him, he said, "This year, I'm going to die." And they asked him, such a terrible omen, a prediction, how do you know? And he said in his own ways that when I would go into the Holy of Holies, I would see, it's not clear what he saw, an angel dressed in white, and that was a good omen. And This year I saw someone dressed in black. And I understand that things are not the same. And sure enough, he went through the holiday of Sukkot and he passed away. Rachel told me, again, we didn't realize the extent of how weak she was, but she told Rachel in the hospital she had the feeling that the end is near. But I was thinking even 2 years ago, and I'm sure the family's going to talk about this, I don't want to say too much, but ever since Brent passed away, she was not the same. And she would share these feelings in the text to me, and that she was trying to deal with it and cope, and I would text her or try to call her Brent's birthday, the yahrzeit. It was very, very difficult for her. And perhaps she did have a feeling that the burden was too much to bear. This is a tremendous loss. There's no question to Phil. I didn't bother asking how many years they were married. I know it was in the early 70s, I believe. So it's 57 years. And obviously to Rachel and Stephen and their spouses, Ellie and Sippy, and the grandchildren. Jamie's not here, he's in Israel. So difficult for a relative, especially a grandchild who's so close, to not be sharing in person with the family. And of course, Renee and Jack and the Borenstein family and everyone, the community. She really was beloved. I don't think anyone can say something negative about her. I'll tell you a story that I think it was Jamie's bar mitzvah. So Rachel was making a meal in the shul for the families. She had a dilemma whether to invite me and my family. She didn't want to. But she has a big heart, like her mom. And she didn't want to burden me. She knows I work hard over Shabbos and be at home with your family. At least that's what she told me. And she didn't know what to do, so she asked her mother, and her mother said, of course you have to invite the rabbi and his family. Think of your Zaidi, Joe, and your Bubby, Min. She was so proud to be part of the Silver family. She knew what they have done for the shul, the respect they had for the institutions, for the Rabbanim. She was so special. And when somebody like this passes away, it's always sad. You don't want to lose anybody. But again, that purity, that childlike innocence, we feel the vacuum so much sooner and in a much more profound way. I told Rachel, she shared it with Stephen, and I'm sure with their dad and the family, this is a truncated Shiva because we have Sukkot coming. So in a way, one might say, but I'm being cheated out. Avelim, the mourners, I need the cathartic experience. People will come over and they'll share stories, and it's a way of coping. At the same time, those who die close to a Yontif, when Shiva is interrupted, it's a good omen. First of all, when she died is a special omen. Before Yom Kippur, a great tzaddik, the Brisker Rab, died really around the same time, right when the day is ending and we're going into Yom Kippur. That can't be overlooked. But during Shiva, there's a judgment in heaven. And we just went through judgment here, the high holidays. If the Shiva ends early, because that's Hashem's divine orchestration, that means that this neshama doesn't have to be judged. It can be very perfunctory, because the person was so special they get an easy pass into their eternal repose. And we can appreciate the significance, the meaning of that, based on the way we knew Marilyn, Miriam Bas Yosef. So we'll say, L'chi b'shalom, Miriam Bas Yosef, go in peace. Miriam Bas Yosef, go in peace. Neshama should be bound up in the bond of eternal life. I'll ask Mechila myself, in case I didn't stay in touch as much. You were always on our minds. I was kept abreast of what was going on through Rachel. I do want to say that, and I told this to Rachel, the same for Stephen, I kept saying over and over again, you're a good daughter. You're a good daughter. The way she took care of her mom, the way she was always there to help her in every way, somehow she was able to create new minutes and hours in the day to be there, to do everything, to take care of her family, but her mom, she was always there for her, and especially during a difficult season, very busy at the shul, to be able to work from the hospital, a dedicated daughter from the beginning until the end, and I'm sure beyond. We're going to hear from the family now. I'd like to call upon Rabbi Brian Bornstein to share some words about his aunt.
You know, in Judaism, we have a rule that you're not allowed to exaggerate. One must always be truthful, but there's an exception to this rule. When one's eulogizing, one may exaggerate the positive qualities with regard to the person with whom we're speaking. This law is a smart and sensible law, but the law is not needed in this case. Aunt Marilyn doesn't need any exaggeration. As the person she was impressive in its own right. I was just sitting here writing the hesped, and for me to stand up here and eulogize someone who I love as much as I love Aunt Marilyn, and to try to properly encapsulate what I can by sitting here for a few minutes, frankly, is embarrassing. And I'm sorry that this won't be the eulogy that you deserve from me, Aunt Marilyn. I was talking to Lauren, my brother, and he reminded me that now that Aunt Marilyn isn't here, QVC might go out of business. But all of my Jewish memories, along with my brothers and my parents, all of my Jewish memories, every Yom Tif, most Shabbatot for my life, were with her and my uncle and my cousins. You know, Rachel and I would play this game. We would each say that we were number one, and we would call each other number two. We did that with our bubby, and it became a cute thing with Aunt Marilyn as well. Rachel and I, we both may have claimed to have been number one, but the truth is Aunt Marilyn was always number one. My aunt and I shared a birthday, and whenever she met somebody new, and I was with her, she would always say, every single time, "This is my nephew Brian, he's my birthday gift." There's a beautiful lesson taught regarding the difference between I like you and I love you. When you like a flower, you pluck it. But when you love a flower, you water it every day. Some teachers do the bare minimum that their job requires. But when you talk to people who are in my aunt's class, you'll hear a common theme. She was just a complete and unadulterated source of positivity, compassion, and encouragement. And I saw that firsthand with my daughter, Shalva. Sandra, my wife, just sent me a video that I shared with Rachel the other night of Aunt Marilyn coloring with Shalva and just watching her and teaching her what seal had taught her. And it was just an incredible source of positivity. You know what's awaiting and welcoming my aunt right now? Thousands of smiles of those lucky kids who had the privilege of having her as their aide in class. All the compassion and love with which she enveloped my uncle, her kids, grandkids, me, my brothers, our family, all of you, her students, all of that is no doubt embracing her with a love that's unimaginable. Our concept in Judaism is that you only create in the next world what you did in this world. Aunt Marilyn, no doubt, is feeling the warm embrace of all the family members who are above already. And along with that, Seal and Joe, Bubby and Zadie and Bubby, no doubt, coming up to Aunt Marilyn right now saying, Marilyn, do I have a Misa for you? And most importantly, my aunt's spiritual heart stopped beating almost 3 years ago when we lost Brent. And now that her physical heart stopped, there's no doubt her spiritual heart is beating once again that she and Brent are back together. And Marilyn, nothing about you needs to be exaggerated. Who you were was more than enough. And like every student you ever had over all those years, my brothers and I, Uncle Phil, Brent, Steve, and Rachel, the grandkids, my parents, and everyone here is better for having been touched by you. You always said that I was your birthday present. That may have been true the first year, but every year since, believe me when I say you were the gift.
I'd like to call on Aaron Victor to say a few words.
I was asked to speak, but there's nothing I can say to improve upon the words that my boys sent to me, so I'll share those instead. This is from the twins, Emmett and Joey. It was very special to grow up with our mama in the same house. When we couldn't sleep, you would tell us bedtime stories about you and your mom. You would come to all of our games and sit in the front row and cheer us on. And you would bring us peanut butter and jelly waffles to recharge after the game. We would watch shows together like Outer Banks, Flash, and Survivor, and we discussed it afterwards, and we try to answer all of your questions. When our friends would sleep over, you would give them endless popsicles. I guess it's okay for their parents to know now. You would help us draft our Madden teams. You would make us crackers and cheese and get us gum from the endless stash in your room. When we got suspended from school, you would spend the day with us, cheering us up and never judging. You would play word escapes with us on the phone before bedtime. We love how you pronounce Yom HaUtzma'at. You would watch us play ball in the backyard and swim in the pool. You taught at AMEC forever, and everyone there absolutely loved you. You'd make funny videos with us to send to our friends. And we'd show you endless card tricks, and no matter how many times we'd show you, you would react like it's the first time you saw it. And you were a great free babysitter. You're the kindest, gentlest, most sincere, loving, and supportive grandmother and mother-in-law anyone could ever have. We love you so much, Mama. Please say hi to Brent for us. We miss you so much. And this is from Jamie in Israel. Mama wasn't just a grandma to me, she was a third parent. I know that from the second I was born, I was her favorite grandchild, or as she would say, her golden boy. That was because I was able to tolerate her constant repetition of stories and talking. I got to spend every second of the day with her from when I woke up to her Good Morning to You song, then going in the car with her every day to school and singing Where is Thumpkin, while counting dogs toward our Wolf Club, finally parking in her handicap spot. But at night she was my watching buddy. Didn't matter if it was The Cat in the Hat or Survivor or whatever stupid shows we watched. It was always so much more fun when it was with her. When I was little and I was sad, I would go into her room and she would let me cuddle with her until I felt good again. She was so warm with her hugs and kisses at night, nobody can ever recreate it. She taught me the power of love and family. Mama would go to every single one of my games, didn't matter what sport. She would have no idea what was going on, but because I was there, she loved it. There was one game in the 5th grade when I was shooting free throws to take the game to overtime. She told me she had to leave the room because she couldn't handle it. Mama put so much passion and love into everything she did. It's a trait I hope to pick up when I'm older. My favorite memories are when Mama would sit next to me every night before I went to bed and sing Shema with me. And she would leave the room and say, "Good night, love you." And I would say, "I love you, Mama." We have no one anymore to put punctuation on our sight games, tell us what the weather's going to be, or to let us know the stupid things politicians say. Mama always made me feel smart when I was explaining things that I've learned to her. Even if she wasn't interested in the topic, she always made me feel like she was, because she always loved to learn new things. When I gave my last hug to Mama, I didn't know it would be the last. But after, I knew I was ready to go to Israel. It's good to know that she's always going to be protecting me and watching over me, even though she already was. I was Mama's golden boy, but Mama was my golden everything. Mama, you would always tell me this story. Your great-grandma Seal always said sleep is the best medicine. It's good to know that you'll be healing forever. I love you, Mama.
We mentioned that Marilyn broke her hip. It was the Shabbos of Sheva Brachos for Rachel. She was so happy to see Rachel find Ellie, get married. It was a very special day. And we're going to now ask Ellie Jaffe, her son-in-law, to say a few words.
I am new to the family, and I just met Mom less than 2 years ago. I remember telling Rachel that I felt completely comfortable after meeting Phil and Marilyn within about 30 seconds, which is a compliment to both of them, but today we're talking about Mama. It is rare to meet someone who made you feel so completely loved and accepted for exactly who you are, like Mama did. And I felt that from the first second that I met her. She also had a very special gift of expressing her love and appreciation, which I will always remember, whether it was playing her music on guitar or the chicken soup that I made for her when we went to visit her. She always had a way of showering you with appreciation and love for anything that you did. Once you're family to her, you are completely family to her. Although I think everyone was family to her, and everyone who knew her felt this way with her. She invited my family into her home as if we were her family, which we will always be forever grateful for, as I'm sure my family will agree. I'll miss her laughter, love, and even her nonstop talking. And I like to think that she's up there with my mom, schmoozing for the rest of eternity. We love you, Mama. Thank you.
We'll ask Chloe Lent, a granddaughter, to say some words about her Bobby.
Just bear with me because I just came off a flight with my husband, so I'm trying to hold it together. To my beloved Mama, today as we come together to celebrate her life, I find myself reflecting on the special bond I shared with her as her eldest granddaughter. Our relationship was filled with so much love, laughter, and memories. When I first heard the news of her passing from my mother and sister Emma, it felt like my world had shattered. I fell to the floor, overwhelmed by the pain and grief, struggling to accept that she was really gone. Mama was a constant presence in my life. We spoke every day, and losing that daily connection has left me heartbroken. But I take comfort in knowing that she is now in a better place, reunited with my Uncle Brent, who I do also miss very much. I know that she is proud of our family and grateful for the love and care she received from everyone around her. Mama was one of the sweetest, most joyful people I've ever known. I'll never forget how proud she was of me just 10 months ago on my wedding day. Even through a video call, her happiness for me and my husband was obvious. That memory, along with so many others from our countless phone calls and shared laughter will stay with me forever. Thank you, Mama, for your love and the memories we made as we say goodbye. I know that you'll always be with us, watching over each and every one of us with that beautiful smile of yours. I love you, and I'll miss you every day. You will never be forgotten. Love, Chloe.
I'd like to ask Rachel to talk about her mom.
So I'm actually going to read on behalf of 3 people. The first one is from Yahu Lebovics, who is in Chicago and couldn't be here today. He asked me to read this on his behalf. Mom, I feel like it was such a short time ago where I stood there at Binyamin's, Brent's gravesite, and you were looking so proudly at us, as you always have, as Steve and Rachel and I spoke our love and respects for Brent, Zachrono Levracha, at his unveiling. This past Yom Kippur, I experienced the most depressing day. I'm normally one of the singers, and I couldn't even summon one note. When the shul started dancing, I just sat there with my tallis over my head. At one point, a couple friends came over to me as the circle came by and tried to coax me in. I couldn't. After Yantif, I received the terrible news. I understood. Now here we are, and I can't find the words. I'm crushed. Mom, I can think of one word: heart. You took me in and made me part of the family like it was the most natural thing to do. Like Rachel said to me, Yahu, you were her 4th child, and I felt it to the bottom of my heart. I was a kid who felt out of place, and you made me feel like I made the place. My Hakaras HaTov is infinite. When I needed you, you were there. You never wanted anything in return. You just had so much giving to do. And even now, you never forgot a birthday of me or my children. I know I wasn't the best, although I tried sending pics and saying good Shabbos, you never made me feel bad about going MIA. All heart. Your compliments and yearly blessings were from your heart and then some. My children still remember the time we came by Hanukkah and Brent with his dog entertained us and you gave us the Cars blanket as gifts. They slept with them for years. I think the Cars theme was befitting because you and those long car rides with the speakers blasting Peter Cetera. Mom, all those wonderful Friday night meals at Ralph's. You made me feel like I was the next Shweki. You built me up when I needed it most. Mom, you made me feel like a superstar surfer. I'm not. You made me feel like a professional hockey player, not even close. But your belief in me and your filming made me an actual decent surfer and hockey player. You made me believe in myself. And thanks to you and Steven, I ended up in Israel and grew tremendously from it. And that's why you were so amazing with kids. Emek was so lucky to have you all those years. I remember how much energy you put into the classroom and how much you loved every child. Then had the blessing of you smiling and cracking a joke with them. Your love for Hashem and support of Phil going to shul made an impact on my life. Mom, you had the best sense of humor. Your puns and quick wit, fake naivety, did I pronounce that correctly? Naivety? Yeah. With a hint of real naivety was legendary. I remember when you first got into texting and you texted me LOL in caps. I was confused because there was nothing funny about what we were talking about. Then you explained that it meant lots of love. So from then on, we would text LOL as lots of love. You led the house with love and more love. You understood what each of your children needed, and you had more than enough heart for all of us. Mom, I wish so much that I could be there in person, but I know you forgive me. Please forgive me for everything that I've done. Mom, I'm going to miss your support and your unconditional love, but I know that it lives on with me and my children. You will always be a part of me and my children. I am the person I am today because of your support, love, and acceptance. Mom, I will always love you, thank you, and think of you all the time. Love, your favorite son, Yahoo. Now I'm going to read something on behalf of my father. My dad is a man of few words, but he wanted to share some special things about Mom that might not seem so important to others, but were very important to him. I'm going to read this from his perspective. My nickname for you was Mare, and you would call me Phil. And the running joke was that Mare and Phil are both horses, and Philip, by definition, is a lover of horses. You always took the forefront in giving speeches instead of me because I don't like public speaking. I love the way you were able to write cards and emails and text messages that we would have to send out to people, whether they were condolence cards, birthday cards, or wedding cards. You were able to express the sentiments that we had much better than I could. When we were young, we loved going on road trips together opposed to flying because they were much more fun. Every time we drove together, you would say, "Where are all these people going?" And I would reply, "Where they want to go." You were very supportive of me in everything I did. You thought I was very smart because I could answer questions on Jeopardy. You enjoyed the way I was able to talk to my clients regarding taxes. Whenever I would say Kiddush, Marilyn would say, "Your mother would say, 'Phil, you did a good job.'" You watched me play softball, and when you would come with the kids in August, when it was very hot, you would say, "Woo, it's almost as hot as summer." You were a very good homemaker and loved to shop, very much to my chagrin. You were very good with the kids, taking them everywhere they needed to go. Marilyn was a very good mother, daughter, grandmother, which proves that she was a very lovely person. That's an inside joke. Thank you for putting up with me for 57 years. Everyone would say you deserve a trophy. I love you very much, and I will be missing you. Okay. At 12:41 p.m. on Friday, October 11th, out of nowhere, I received the very last text message from my mom that I will ever get. It said, "Love you very much." Anyone who knew my mother can agree that one word summed her up: love. All she wanted to do was give love to everyone around her. If you were her mailman, you got chocolates during the holidays. If you were Amy, the lady who checked people out at Costco, you were her best friend. If you were my friend, she was your mother. If you were my kids' friends, she was your grandmother. And if you were her student, you were her children. She loved everyone with every fiber of who she was, and in turn, everyone loved her. She was so humbled that she didn't realize her value or the impact she had on others. My mother worked at EMEC for 30 years. I never met any other person who loved children as much as she did. She would say on repeat, "I love children, I love children." And that is why she poured her heart and soul into every child that was blessed to be a student in her class. One of her students sent me a text last night which made me cry. I want to read parts of it to you. I was a third grade girl with Mrs. Silver as my assistant teacher. She showered me with so much love and always gave me hugs and kisses in school. I remember more than a few times I would be walking in the hallway and I would see her and we would both laugh together. She always would chew her mint gum and have lip gloss on always. She was always someone warm I could rely on in school, and that made me feel good. Her ability to care so deeply for others is something I really admire. She always smelled like vanilla and brown sugar, and I promise you I could still smell the smell. And every time I smell vanilla, I think of her. I made sure I asked her what she used, and then I went to Bath & Body Works and would buy the vanilla and warm sugar products so that I could smell like your mom. All I could say is that one day I hope I could be someone's Mrs. Silver. My mom was the coolest. She would hang out with me and my friends all the time. Our house was the place to be. She accepted everyone for who they are and was there for so many of my friends and Stephen's friends and Brenton's friends. She treated them like they were her own children, letting them live in our house and being a confidant when they were having issues with their own parents and families. One of my friends even said the other night, "Your mom was the mom every teenager wished they had." She was the only mom who came with me and my friends to the Backstreet Boys concerts twice. She's the only mom who came to karaoke and trivia night. I was so lucky to have her as a mother. She was always there for everything. She was the mother who drove me and my friends everywhere without question. She always let us have our friends over. She was everywhere with her large video camera on her shoulder, taping every performance, every soccer game, and pretty much every moment of my life. I realize now that if other people address your mom by the name Mom, then she must be pretty special. And she was. And so many times I took her for granted, and we fought about the dumbest things. Because not only was she my mother, but she was also my best friend, my confidant, and the sister I didn't have. She was hands down the best grandmother. She did everything for my kids. We lived with my parents for 13 years, and she practically raised them as if she was their mother. She would often tell me how she sort of missed out on that grandmother experience of having them come over to her house and being able to shower them with ice cream and then go back home. This was because they lived with her, but she was their mama, and they got so much more. Whenever I got into a fight with the boys, she would always take their side and say, "Rachel, you need to be more compassionate, more soft, and realize they're just children." She would literally just sit next to my kids when they played Xbox, not knowing what was going on in the game they were playing, but just because she wanted to spend time with them and show them that they were special to her. She came with me to every basketball game, baseball game, and football game because she wanted to be there for them, even though she didn't know what was going on. I often said, "Oh my gosh, I should make a YouTube channel and just videotape her watching these games because it is so funny to watch her reactions and hear the funny things she would say." At their basketball games, she would yell out, "Box in, box in." And I would start laughing. I was like, "Mom, it's box out." Speaking of funny things, my mother always tried to speak Hebrew. And she would always say the funniest things because she didn't grow up with a Jewish education, so she didn't know. She would ask me to machmor her before every Yom Kippur, and I would laugh and say it's mochel. She thought that the word for Seamus was bakeki. I have no idea where she pulled that one from. She would say suka and minha. And my favorite, as Aaron mentioned, was Yom HaTzmaut. It would be Yom HaTzamut, Yom HaMatzut. And Jamie came home one day and said, "This is the best one, Yom HaUtzmaat." She was so funny and always made me laugh. She was caring and loving and warm. She always wanted to make people feel special in whatever way she could. Recently, I got married, and my husband Ellie's family stayed at my parents' house for a week. The moment they stepped foot in her house, they instantly became her family. For weeks prior, she kept asking me on repeat, "Please find out what kind of food they want to eat so I have it in the house. Please find out what kind of food they want so I can have it in the house." I was like, okay, like they can handle themselves. Like, you don't have to do it, it's fine. She changed their towels and threw out their garbage like she was their housekeeper, working at a hotel, and she made them a sign on the door. When she found out that Ellie's 2-year-old niece loved bananas, ran straight to Ralph's and boom, there are bananas on the kitchen counter. Again, I said, "You don't have to do this. They can go to the market themselves." But she never listened and just did it anyway because she wanted to make others happy and feel special. She was always so thoughtful. Every time I sent out a Baruch Dayan Emes announcement from the shul, and the families forgot to include condolence info, she would immediately text me and ask for their information because she needed to reach out to the family right away. Sometimes she would send a birthday card or a congratulations text to someone, and she'd call me and say, "Oh, by the way, I added your name to the card or the text." And I would say, "Why?" She said, "Because it will make that person feel so happy that more people thought of them." She was so helpful. She was there when I gave birth to all 3 of my kids and slept with me in the hospital. When I had a big surgery, she was there to be my personal assistant. She supported me in every way. When it came to work, when I was understaffed at shul, she would help me no matter what. I would give her the most annoying, tedious things to do because I had no time to do it, and she just did it to help me, and she never got paid a penny. She was our built-in babysitter. She drove carpool for the kids for years and wanted to. She drove them to their basketball practices and to their friends' houses, and she would get other kids rides. She just wanted to help. I can't describe the amount of texts, calls, and emails I have received over the past few days. They're not generic BDE, "I'm sorry for your loss." They are, "Your mother made everyone around her feel special and important. Your mother helped me through my divorce. She was such a warm and loving lady who made the world of difference to my daughter and me when we moved to LA." I'm filled with so much sadness. And if this is how I'm feeling from losing my mother, I can't imagine how difficult it was for her to lose my brother Brent 2.5 years ago. She must have been suffering emotionally more than we can imagine. But she never once stopped showering me or my kids with love. Before her second surgery, a week and a half ago, she sent me this text. "If anything happens, remember to tell everyone how much I love them and how proud I am of all of you. I've been blessed to be married to your dad, yours, Brent's and Stephen's mom, a grandma to all the children, to be part of the most wonderful family. You told me that when you eventually pass away, you wanted us to play a Celine Dion song called Mama. And because I can't play it, I will now read the lyrics. Mama, you gave life to me, turned a baby into a lady. And Mama, all you had to offer was a promise of a lifetime of love. Now I know there is no other love like a mother's love for her child. And I know a love so complete someday must leave must say goodbye. Goodbye is the saddest word I'll ever hear. Goodbye is the last time I will hold you near. Someday you'll say that word, and I will cry. It will break my heart to hear you say goodbye. Mama, you gave love to me, turned a young one into a woman. And Mama, all I ever needed was a guarantee of you loving me. Mom, the world won't be the same without you in it. My life won't be the same without you here. I hope you'll machmir me for everything I have done. I love you always. Your favorite daughter, Rachel.
The final speaker is Stephen. Talk about his mom.
So I'm going to read this on behalf of my wife. When we first met, I felt pulled to her, and I didn't understand why. There was something I was so drawn to, her absolute love for our kids. Taking our three little girls on a walk so I could rest while she beamed. She thought they were the most beautiful babies she had ever seen. Then our boys came along, and she adored them as much. She laughed at Zeb's humor and Ellie's observations. She focused her eyes on just them while the rest of the world faded away. I figured out pretty quickly what made me feel so deeply connected to her. My bubby was just like her. Every inch of us was adorable to her, and her whole world was us. When I entered the room, her face would light up, and so would my mom's to her own children. I will miss her every day. I will think of her every day, and I will remind our kids how lucky they were to have her in their lives. I never got to say goodbye to my bubby, but I got to say goodbye to my mom, and I'll always be grateful. Love, Sippy. It's hard to put everything into words, especially since there was such a quick notification of having the Shiva today. And so I do appreciate on behalf of my family for everyone coming out on such short notice. It really means a lot to us. So Miriam, known as Pua in the Torah, comforted infants in Mitzrayim during a challenging time for the Jewish people. She played a vital role providing care and support to those who needed it most, showing incredible strength and compassion. Our mother, Marilyn, her Hebrew name is also Miriam, had the same caring spirit. She loved her children and grandchildren fiercely, always focusing on their unique qualities and what made them special. Just like the biblical Miriam, she was there for her family through thick and thin, cheering us on, lifting us up during tough times. Her unwavering support created a strong bond, and her love made a lasting impact, and making her family feel cherished and valued. When she married into the Silver family, as Rabbi said, she embraced her new identity completely. My Aunt Renee became her sister, and my uncle became her brother. She took immense pride in being a Silver, often saying, "I am Minnie and Joe's daughter-in-law." The joy on others' faces when they heard that brought her happiness. Everyone who knew her loved her. She was a mother to everyone, and her friends and family adored her. I have received so many messages expressing how much she touched their lives. It's a shock to all of us that the world feels different now, having lost someone so remarkable. She loved being a teacher's aide at Emek Hebrew Academy, as many have mentioned so far, where the kids meant everything to her. Many former students have shared her love, how her love made them feel special, and as it were her own children, they were their own children. In Jewish tradition, passing away on Shabbat is viewed as a significant blessed event, a peaceful way to leave this world. Dying on Yom Kippur is even more meaningful, as it's the holiest day of the year, focus on forgiveness and reflection. When someone passes away in both Shabbat and Yom Kippur, it's seen as a sign of their righteousness and that their soul is at peace. My brother Brent, thus memory, who also passed away on Shabbat, he always held a special place in her heart. For the moments my parents adopted him when he was 9 months, I can't even see at this moment. I need my glasses. And in case you're wondering, this is something my mother always had on her shirt for a pair of glasses. And she always would say, "Do you want this?" I'm like, "No." Well, now I do. And I will be wearing it. So for the time they adopted my brother when he was 9 months old, our mother doted on him, treating him as if he was her firstborn. It's comforting to know he looked like a part of the family. So when he passed away, a piece of her heart went with him. Since then, she longed to reunite with him, and now that she has, she is finally free of that pain. We are grateful she is at peace, but we will miss her more than words can express. They are together now, and I'm sure they're smiling down upon us. I remember her telling me that whenever she spoke to my teachers, they would mention how I was always had a smile on my face, especially when I was singing Jewish songs. Knowing that made her happy. She would take me to soccer, karate, baseball, and basketball games, always cheering me on. You could see the pride in her eyes no matter how wild I got. Sometimes we took for granted how special she was and that all that she did to ensure we felt loved and cared for, no matter the circumstances. Her life was truly selfless, focused on her family, and she never wanted to burden anyone. I know Rachel isn't going to like this, but let's be honest. Everyone knows I was her favorite child. I can make her laugh and feel good, and I think that made a difference. I hope everyone understands this. I was her Raymond. So, if you saw the show. I was incredibly fortunate to be with my mother on her last day. Making her laugh was such a joy, and seeing her happy meant the world to me. Just a couple of hours before her surgery, she spoke to my father on the phone and said, "Phil, I haven't seen him since he's passed." I asked her, "Who was she talking about?" And she replied, "Your brother Brent." I gently reminded her that, of course, she hasn't seen him since he was there. Since he wasn't there. She said, then I would see him soon. I'm so grateful I spent the last few hours with her. As the doctor explained the surgery's concerns, she held my hand tightly, tears in her eyes, not wanting to let go. I kissed her face, her forehead, and stroked her hair. Just before she went to the surgery, she told me she loved me. I cannot believe she's gone. I love you very much. You'll be missed by all. I can't say anymore. Love you, Mom.
We're going to conclude the chapel service with Psalm 23, and then we're going to receive instructions about burial. Mizmor LeDavid Adonai Roi Lo Echsar Binos Deshe Yarbitzeni Amei Menuchos Yinahaleni Nafshi Yeshovev Yancheni V'Magle Tzedek L'man Shemo Gam Ki Elech B'Geis Almavis Lo Ira Ra Ki Ato Yimadi Shivtecha Mishantecha Hima Yenachamuni Taroch L'fanai Shulcha Neged Tzaroroi Dishanta V'Hashem En Roshi Kosi Revaya Ach Tov V'Chesed Yerdefuni Kol Yemei Chayoi V'Shafti B'Veis Adonai L'Orech Yomim.
My dear friends, thank you again for joining us. At this time, we conclude the chapel portion of our service. We're going to be exiting through the main doors outside. At that time, we are so very late in the day today. Please don't stop. Please don't stop the family. Please exit directly to your cars. We will drive together to the top of the cemetery. So if you feel like walking, you can. It'll be a little bit of a hard walk going up the hill, but please go directly to your cars. Shiva will take place starting today at the Silver Residence, 13120 Albers Street in Sherman Oaks. Mincha Marav today and tomorrow, 6:05 p.m. Wednesday, Mincha, 2 p.m. Shacharit tomorrow and Wednesday at 7 a.m. And visitation hours are tonight till 10:30 p.m., tomorrow from 8:30 a.m. to 10:30 p.m., and Wednesday, 8:30 a.m. to 4 p.m. At this time, we call upon the following friends and family members to honor us to serve as our casket bearers: Jack Bornstein, Lauren Bornstein, Ellie Jaffe, Aaron Victor, Zev Silver, Emmett Victor, Joey Victor, and Ellie Silver. We ask the casket bearers to please come forward. Kindly rise. What we're going to have is the immediate family walk behind the casket bearers. We're going to be exiting directly through the center aisle. So if you are in the center aisle, please make room for the casket bearers. And then we're going to carry it the rest of the way. We're going to have a couple more minutes on the other side of the casket. We're just going to hold on to the handles, hold on to the casket. Once we start walking, we'll be a little bit. We're going to walk it right there. Please come forward.
You don't have to pick it up. That's the wheel.
Where's the follower?
No. They need a little help.
Push it on the wheels. On the wheels.
Make sure it's on and good.
Push it on the wheels till we get to the outside. Hold on to the handles in the casket, please. He's walking right behind. And again, from the front rows to the rear, please exit directly to your cars. It was very late in the day. Thank you for your cooperation.